Hey guys, I hope you're having an amazing day today. And today, I want to talk about genetic curses, trauma, past lives, DNA codons, conditioning, subconscious beliefs, karma. We can call this stuff all kinds of things. And that's the thing that I want to really get across here, is that so many people look at it differently and call it different things and see it in different ways. And so I want to recognize that when I talk about this, there is no right and wrong way. And everyone who gets initiated into this healing journey, they see it differently. And so truly, we can't fully understand this, but a lot of people are beginning to break into this. A lot of people are beginning to realize that there's something more, that there's something going on. We are programmed, and that everyone has different trauma, and that the trauma, the conditioning, the DNA, the karma, right? Genetic curses, it affects us all differently. And so I wanted to talk about this for a little while today because this is my passion. Like, this is my fire. This is what I do with people in the Hungry Bear. This is what I do in my personal sessions. I initiate people into the human design experiment. Because this experiment, once you start the experiment, you begin the process of unbecoming your mind. And as you do that, you see life differently. You heal these things naturally over the course of 7 years. And so my journey with this has been wild. Hey, Jennifer. And in 2015, I found human design. Okay, I had just made it through my pregnancy condition. I lost my dad while pregnant, had Vega. And at that point in time, things really started going downhill for me. Okay, I was having suicidal thoughts. Like, my mind was darker than it had ever been. And I didn't know how to continue living through that. Like, I didn't know how to move through that. And then all of a sudden I started having these panic attacks where I would lose my vision. I would lose the mobility in my limbs. I was going to the ER. I was trying to figure out, like, what is wrong with me? What is happening to me? I felt like I was dying. I went through different medications. One of them knocked me out for over 24 hours with a new baby. And so my life was in shambles, and I didn't know how to continue moving. Like, I couldn't drive to work, right? Because if my vision goes, what am I going to do? And so I was in a really, really scary place. And then human design found me. And when it found me, I didn't understand it. I tried so hard to understand it. I was sharing it with people. I was telling them about their gates, thinking that would help me understand. And it didn't. And the only thing that I could really grasp at that point in time was that I am not my mind. And when I felt that, I was like, oh my God. So these thoughts that I'm having, they don't mean anything. They don't mean that I'm actually going to do it. They don't mean that I'm going to take my life. They don't mean that I actually feel this way about myself. They're just thoughts. And so I was able to gain that as soon as it found me. I started following my strategy and authority. I started making decisions with my voice and with my heart. And I stopped paying so much attention to my mind. And so fast forward, we build an LLC. We are doing design and branding for businesses. We have HempWorks come to us. We become 6-figure earners in the world of network marketing. We are helping people build businesses. And I'm following my strategy and authority the whole time, right? Like, I never thought I would do network marketing. I didn't like it. Like, my mind didn't like it, right? But as soon as it came to me, my body was like, you have to do this. And so I was like, my mind's like, you can't do this. What are you thinking? You can't sell things. You're not a salesperson. But you can't deny what your strategy and authority is saying to you. And so I did it. And it was amazing. It was exactly for me. And as I continued following my strategy and authority, we started network marketing in 2017. And in 2018, my mind broke. It broke. Like, I knew nothing. Like, the way I had always seen myself and others completely changed. And I was like, I don't know what to do with myself here. All of a sudden, I started seeing these visions, and I was calling them past lives. And it felt like I was like releasing these decisions that I had made in lives previous to this one. And so it got really trippy. And I'm sitting there and I'm trying to read different books by different masters. I'm like, where is this? What is this? What do I do about this? But I discovered, like that's what human design is. It puts everybody on their unique journey. It puts everyone on their unique trajectory. And over the course of 7 years, it cleans you out of these genetic curses, this conditioning, these past lives, these DNA codons, these subconscious beliefs, right? We can call it so many things, but that's what it was. I was on my own unique spiritual journey. And, everybody has their own. Like, mine didn't look like the Buddha's, and mine didn't look like Jesus's, and mine didn't look like any of these people. Why? Because I'm not them. And we are all 100% unique. And so as I made it through this beast that I was going through on my own, I began to become more comfortable. I began to understand things differently. And that's when I started the Hungry Bear. I was like, well, there's other people in the world that have to have experienced something like this or be going through something like this, or maybe they're trying to decondition their own self. And so if I just start this group and share what I'm going through, I can help other people with the same. And since that time, it's been amazing. I mean, I initiate people into their experiment. I spend time with them in a chat. We have Zoom calls every Friday. And we basically just talk about the journey, right? I am constantly with them on their unique journey. And I am someone who understands that their journey is completely unique and that they can learn from me, but it's not going to look the same as me. And so I'm all beliefs allowed, all topics allowed. Everything is accepted because it looks different to you than it does to me. And so that's kind of my journey with this stuff and what it looked like for me. And so this stuff, it's in our DNA. And you can call it past lives, right? To me, the way it presented itself to me was that I've lived lives before this. And I got to see those lives. And things would happen in those lives that made me make a decision about myself. And that decision moves in to the next life. And then the decisions you make there, they move in to the next life. And you can call those subconscious limiting beliefs. You can even go in a different direction and say that this is our genetic codons and the way that we are literally programmed. And if you come into life with a specific set of codons, you're going to attract the experiences to you to fulfill the frequency of these codons, and then you can call that trauma, right? And this is all based on your programming. And so there's a lot of different ways to see this stuff. You can say genetic curses. You could look at the programming of your DNA as a continuance of your current family's genetic line. And so then you wouldn't be saying those were my past lives. You would be saying those were lives that were lived by people in my genetic line, right? And so that you can look at this. And I don't want to write any as right or wrong, right? These are the ways that I've seen, and these are the ways that I've seen it look to people. And so we could call it anything, you know what I mean? But this is the real growth journey. And when you are healing these things, you are healing yourself. You are transcending. You are coming into self versus living out that trauma, living out that conditioning, living out that, these loops, these cycles that we go in, because this conditioning, this stuff, it makes our decisions for us. Like my past life example, right? I made a decision in this life that I wasn't worthy of living, and that comes into this life with me, and it makes decisions for me now, right? And so if we are making decisions from our mind is going to say no to network marketing. It's going to say no to the things that are for us because it doesn't believe that we're nearly that good or capable of doing that, or, whatever decisions are living in your DNA. And so it can get very trippy, but honestly, this stuff moves us. It is what brings us together. It is what gets us to work together and crave each other and crave new experiences. Like, it moves us in this life. And so it serves so many purposes, and it's all good. I saw a post today, and this is why I'm sharing. And it basically talked about, it's no wonder I am where I am because I have all this trauma and most people don't have that. And it triggered me because no, every single person has this. And yes, it's unique in everyone, but everyone attracts their traumatic experiences to them. It is literally the mechanics of life. It's the way that it's built. It's why we move. It's why we say the things we say and make the decisions that we make and hang out with the people that we hang out with. Right? And so it's much bigger than I have all of this and no one else does. No, it's life. And so it's beautiful. It's tragic and beautiful at the same time. And once your mind breaks and you're not that anymore, you see both sides of everything. Everything is a beautiful tragedy. Go back through all of the good experiences in your life and find the tragic side. And then go back through all the tragic experiences in your life and find the beautiful side. They're both there if you are seeing life correctly. If you are working with life, you remain in this center place because you see both sides of it. And so it's just incredible. And so if we're looking at it as like the DNA way or the subconscious limiting belief way, this is a popular way, okay? Like attracting what you are. So if you have these subconscious limiting beliefs or this programmed DNA, it's going to attract experiences to you at that frequency. And you are going to take these experiences and you're going to cycle and you're going to go through loop after loop after loop until you learn the lesson and you transcend that genetic conditioning. And when you do, something happens, something releases, something moves, and you stop attracting these things to you. Abusive relationships, right? Why do people get stuck in an abusive relationship cycle? They go on to the next person and they experience the exact same thing they experienced with the last guy. Why is that? It's because life is always working with you, and it's always giving you exactly what you need to transcend what you're going through now and to learn that lesson or release that wound or that trauma or that pain. And so it's always going to bring you what you need. And if you need to see the same characteristics in 8 different men, it will do that for you until you realize something about yourself and you grow out of that cycle and you continue on in your spiral of evolution or cognition, awareness, right? We are here not to suffer and not to be obsessed with survival. We are here to gain awareness. We are here to see life correctly. And so this stuff is completely unique in every single individual. And when you are your mind, you see everyone like you feel about yourself. And so if you've decided you're worthless subconsciously, or that's what's living in your DNA, that's what you're going to see in others. It's wild. And when your mind breaks, you realize like, oh my God, there's no right and wrongs. There's no black and whites. Just because I think this about me doesn't mean anything about them. Or just because I think that about them doesn't mean anything about me. And things get really wild. I feel like I really see people for who they are because I'm not just seeing a reflection of myself. I know that my mind cannot understand myself, my infinite uniqueness that I am. And I know that my mind can't understand the infinite uniqueness that you are. I could never understand you. And so when you're talking to me, I'm not sitting there looking at you like, oh, they're going to say this, or oh, they got that from that, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's what most people do. I'm seeing you in your awe and your wonder. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I have no preconceived thoughts or notions about you because I know there's no one like you here in this world, in this life. There's no one like you and there's no one like me, and when we're trying to, let's say, get better by reading other people's opinions, like there's some right way to be, that's not reality. You're not embracing your uniqueness. You aren't allowing yourself in this life. You're putting yourself down and trying to pick up what this guy says is right. right? You're trying to be like this guy, but you're denying yourself. You are infinitely unique and there's no one like you. And if you can start allowing yourself and realize that you don't understand yourself, like your mind can't wrap itself around you, just like it can't wrap itself around life, just like it can't wrap itself around them. Then things really get magical and everything changes. And so it's like the fact that it's completely unique in every individual, it puts us on these paths, like these destiny paths, these trajectories. And everyone's trajectory is unique, okay? Like there's so many mind stories that we've made up, like when a couple's together and they break up and it's like, oh, it's his fault. Oh, it's her fault. Da, da, da. Like we aren't in charge of when we come together and when we leave each other. It's part of the movement of our trajectories and it all happens in its perfect timing. And so your genes are making these decisions and you can blame it on him or you can blame it on you or you can blame it on whatever, but literally it's the movement of life, these genetic curses, and it's the timing and it's what's coming for you. And so once you start transcending this stuff, you come into self and then you can start allowing something different to make the decisions. It's not this anymore. It's not your mind. It's not what you've been told, what you've experienced, what you've seen on Netflix, what you've learned, right? It's something else. And for me, that's my heart. And when you are seeing correctly and you are making decisions in this way, life changes and there's not as much suffering and resistance, right? Everything that you see has both sides of the coin, the beautiful tragedy. And so what does that even mean, right? It's also like mystical and wild, but this is us not understanding ourselves as human beings. And since we haven't understood ourselves, all of the systems we built for us aren't correct for us. Like the way that someone can walk into a therapist and explain something, and the therapist is like, oh, this is classic example of bipolar disorder. Here's some medication, this, that, and the other. But it's like, no. Everyone works differently. And there's not some like box that you can use to just tell someone what they are and what they're not and what's wrong with them and medicate that away. Like someone came to me in a session last week and they've always been told they're bipolar. But when I look at human design, it says they're an emotional authority. And people with emotional authority, they ride a wave when they make decisions and they go from the top to the bottom and they experience both sides. And that doesn't mean that they're bipolar. And that doesn't mean that they need medication. It means that they need to understand their uniqueness and how they work and how not everyone works the same. Right? It's like we don't understand ourselves. We don't understand human beings. And this is why there's so much suffering and resistance in life. And so I feel like we're coming into a time where we are able to heal. And it doesn't happen on our timing. Like, for example, in this live, there are going to be people who completely do not understand what I'm talking about because it's not up to me to pick when you get to come into your healing journey. And until that time happens for you, you're not really going to understand what I'm saying. And that's why I don't advertise this stuff. People come to me in life's perfect timing. Regular people, they'll come to me and be like, what's that stuff you share? And that's when I get to initiate them into the experiment. That's when they might book a session with me because that's when the timing's right. And that's when they're ready because it's not up to us when we get to heal or when this becomes available, right? And I see so many people, like so many spiritual people trying to be like, look, you need to heal this. It's not their choice when it's available to you. Or people looking at their spouse and being like, my husband just won't heal. It's not available to him yet. Like you didn't just pick when you got to heal. It usually happens through a traumatic experience. For me, I was sitting here, I was pounding my head against the desk. I was like, why does this work for me and it doesn't work for them or them? Like I've given them everything I do. I've given them everything I say. They see how I act. They see how I am. I've coached them in every which way. I've showed them how to be me. Why doesn't it work? And then boom, I realized it. I was like, oh my God. I realized all of our inherent uniqueness, and that's when my mind broke. And at that point in time, like, it was a tragedy. Like, I was unable to be in real life for a while. I had to back up and figure out all of the things, you know? And it's like, that was so hard for me. And I didn't know how I was going to make it through that. And I didn't choose for that to happen to me. And my mind said, I can't help other people. I can't help other people. We think that helping other people is telling them what to do and giving them action steps and being like, oh, this is the way I see it, so this is right for everyone. There is none of that. That's not reality. That's not true. You have your own unique way of seeing life. And as soon as you come out of all of your conditioning, you will see it. You will realize it, you know? And so it's just so amazing. We are coming into this now, the ability to heal now. And so what's crazy to me is that I do this with human design, right? I do this just by spending time with people and asking them the right questions. But my new product is doing this too. Like, 2 of the people closest to me in life, they're seeing it. I've had 2 people in the last 24 hours look at me and be like, you know how you talk about, like, life brings you everything you need, and it's like the teacher and all these things? They're like, I see that now. And it shocked me. I was like, you mean you haven't seen it the whole time? Like, what does that even mean? Like, what do people think when I say these things? You know, like, they don't see it. And so it just blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, it's the brain. Like, how good is life to me that it has brought me something that does what I do, you know? And so I don't even know what this means for me yet, but I'm just like absolutely shock and awe. That's all life is to me. It's shock and awe. And so it's very interesting. We really, you know, it's like, before we break out of all of our conditioning, we think we know everything. We think we know everything about us and everything about them and exactly what to do and all these things. It's like when your mind breaks, you're like, oh my God, I know nothing. Like the Buddha says, I know nothing. And you let go of all of that stuff. And that's when you really begin to see. And that's when you really begin to understand. And then life, like, it's just shock and awe, all of it. The timing and the way things come to you and the way things happen. And if you're in alignment, like, the way it flows, you know, because you're a part of it and you're not resisting it. You're not making decisions from all of this crap and denying what is for you. Like, you see the perfection and you're in the perfection. And so it's just so incredible. And it really helps you surrender. It helps you relax into life. It helps you make correct decisions for your own uniqueness and not just let this trauma, conditioning, genetic curses make every single decision for you. And so it's amazing. And this is kind of my short little take on all of this stuff that is the same thing. What's up, guys? Yes, and it's like, you know, you can't give it to someone. The understanding doesn't transfer. But once you're there and once you're seeing it, it sure is fun. And there is no blame and shame anymore. Like, there aren't even reasons, okay? Like, for example, when I initiate someone in the human design experiment and I have them making decisions from their gut, someone walks up to them and they're like, hey, do you want to come to my barbecue? Hey, honey. And their gut says no. And their mind is like, you can't say no, you have to say yes. How could you say no? Da-da-da-da-da. You know, there is no reason, but you should say no. Because that's what your body's saying. That's what your intelligence is telling you. Say no. And so once you start, you know, over the course of 7 years, Vega just woke up. All of your reasons go out the window. Like, there is no reason. And you're just with life. And you accept that you can't understand it. And that's why it's so beautiful and shocking and awe-inspiring. Because you're not the expert anymore. You know, like, you're not the center of the universe. You're just a moving part of it. And the things that come to you and the way things change, like, it's just absolutely magic. Hey, Dane. Hey, Jennifer. Hey, Sean. What's up, guys? All right, so That's it. Thank you. Thank you so much. If you like this video, share it for me. Leave me a comment, tag somebody that would like to see this. I'm going to start getting a lot more vocal about this stuff and sharing about this stuff and just sharing myself, because it's time. You know, I started kind of doing it 2 years ago, and really it was like I had no one that understood on here. But lately it's like I'm seeing people share things about conditioning and genetic curses and trauma, and I'm like, it's really happening. Like, it's becoming available to more and more people. And so I'm just so excited, and ways that I can help you. I can help you by initiating you into the human design experience. I can help you by initiating you into a business. The spiritual is the material to me. And taking a journey, being in a system, being in a box that you can break out of, that is a huge piece of the awakening experience. And so business to me is it. You know, I can initiate you into that. And then I can also give you a product that can help you start this process naturally. And I've watched it happen to 2 people in my life in the past 24 hours. And so I'm just like overwhelmed today. I'm like, this is just so good. Like, I couldn't make this up if I wanted to. And I feel like there's about to be a lot more people here with me. And don't get me wrong, I have my whole growth group, and we do this like every day, and they're all here with me. And that's wonderful, because when you're here and you don't know anybody else that's here, it can be kind of tough. It can be kind of strange. Aw, Dane, you'll have to message me and tell me about it. So I love you guys. Have a good day today. You want to say bye? Say bye-bye, Sleepy Vega. Bye.